What's going on, guys? Emo Tempest here, and this is the first deck I wanted to share with you guys. So I took a couple decks with me to Indianapolis, the Gen Con, the Crystal Cups, and although I did main water for the main event, I did take this Chocobo deck with me so I can play in the Wolves Den and any other side events and stuff like that. Now, the first thing I want to say about this, it is called Chocobo Paradise, and I'm sure you can note why just by looking here. I do play all the Chocobos, most of them anyway, and then I am playing the Eldmarsh to try to get off the Paradise combo. The main reason for that is because we flood the board so much here, especially with the new Opus 6 Chocobo, that if your opponent even leaves like one or two blockers, and we have so many, and we end up having like, I don't know, 6 or 7 things. If your opponent even leaves the opportunity for more than one attack to go through per turn, then dropping the Eldmarsh on turn 2, on main phase 2, and just going Paradise for everything is just amazing. But yeah, just so that's kind of the main idea behind the deck. I'll go over some of the things that I feel the reason I put in there. I'll go over the backups and stuff like that while they're in there, and then I think I'll show you guys a little piece of just the combos and stuff after this. It's not going to be much. It's pretty straightforward. So the first one we're going to cover here, probably the most important one, is Chocobo Knight. We're not going to go in order, by the way. We're just going to talk about all the ones. Actually, you know what? Let's go in order then. We have Chocobo. He's in here. I'm only playing 2 because he's in here because the first strike. Giving a party first strike is just, no one's going to block it, honestly. Especially with any of the ones that buff, any of the Chocobos that buff the 3k buffs. So usually with Arc and him and one of the other ones, Arc puts him at 2, Chocobo partying puts him at 5. The other ones will go to 5 to 8, so that's 13 first strike. No one's going to stop that. You're pretty much going to go through all the time. And he's super cheap. He's 1 cost. You can play him on any turn. You can even Chocobo Knight him if you want. But he's very useful. Next is Azana. Azana enters the field. You may search for Chocobo or a card named Chocobo. Pretty simple, straightforward. He doesn't get the buff from Arc or anything like that, but he helps you get what you need. Usually you want to search for Fat Chocobo with this, because Fat Chocobo is a job class Chocobo, and that's how that's gonna work. But yeah, that's it. He'll get you anything you really need in the deck. The only thing he can't search is Chocobo Knight, but that's fine. We do have a card for that later. Next is the Chocobo from 7, Haste. This is probably the most important one. You want to keep track of how many of these you have. You'll end up dropping him and then partying attacking immediately with him. Or sometimes if you're going turn 1 or turn 2, you'll put him out first just to get that initial point of damage. But yeah, so he's the very important one, not only because he has haste, but because he buffs. So yeah, triple of him. I'm playing triple of this Chocobo, the special one. When he enters the field, he gives a unit haste. Now, sometimes, so what I've done a couple times too is I'll drop Eldmarsh, Chocobo Knight into this one, give Eldmarsh haste, get extra points of damage before, and then on main phase 2 I'll Paradise again. And that's what he comes into play for. So if you have enough, once you've built up the backups, or at any real situation you have, if you have Chocobo Knight, you can drop Chocobos and then have Chocobo Knight drop this one and give things haste just to help squeeze in those points of damage. Your main targets for this are Chocobo Knight, Eldmarsh, and the other Chocobo that doesn't have haste. I believe it is this Opus 4 one. The Opus 4 one that it just gives 3,000 to the party until the end of the turn, but doesn't have haste. So those are your main targets, and you usually want to keep one in your hand for the most part until you're ready for it. The next one is the Opus 5 Chocobo, and this guy's amazing, really. Chocobo forms a party. Chocobo, obviously referring to itself, doesn't receive any damage. So one of the main things is if you're partying with this guy, he usually parties with the little one, the one I'm going to go over next. But if you party with both of them, your opponent's not going to block because they're not going to take any damage. Like, they're just going to swing and knock something over. And that's very important when you're playing bigger stuff, when you're fighting against decks that have stronger, more powerful units. And he also helps you keep the number of Chocobos you have on board. So If you can get 2 of them out. I've tested playing this a little more tempo, and when I drop Fat Chocobo or even Chocobo Knight, I end up searching for this one or finding a way to get this one on as soon as possible. It all depends on the matchup. After you guys play test it and get a little comfortable with it, you'll know which ones those are. But this one's amazing, and with Arc he's at 8k, so he's 3 8k, it's pretty good. Now this one is what made this Opus 6 Chocobo is what made this deck. What brought it to my attention, I guess, and really wanted me to get into it. When Chocobo enters the field, you may play 1 card named Chocobo from your hand onto the field. So the real combo is if you at least have one of these and another Chocobo, or any combination of Chocobos. What you want to end up doing is either having Chocobo Knight to drop one of these and then drop him into another one, into anything, or have Fat Chocobo, when you play Fat Chocobo into another one, into anything else, any one of the other Chocobos. So pretty much what you'll end up doing is dropping 2 to 4, even 5 if you have all 3 available to you. If you have 2 of these in your hand and Fat Chocobo drops 1, that's 3 forwards, and then you drop a 4th one. So that's 4 forwards that you're dropping in 1 turn. And if you do that turn 2, really, then your opponent's like, okay, I don't have anything to do. So ideally, you'd like to have the one we just mentioned, the one that doesn't take battle when partying, or any of the other ones that buff 3,000, because they'll go to 13 as well, and they'll only be able to kill this little one. So it's gonna be very useful. Just helping get rid of your opponent's forwards out of the way, and then he's the only thing that dies. But yeah, this was the one that makes this the paradise or the swarming possible. The next one is he's just the filler. I have him in there because he's probably the least important, but he's more of a later game because he doesn't have the haste. So he's 6k. He's a little stronger than the 7 one, but he doesn't have haste. So it's a little trade off there. But I'm playing him at 3 as well. And then, I know we said we would start him, but I wanted to get back to him. Chocobo Knight is by far the most important one in this deck. When Chocobo Knight enters the field, search for job name or card name Chocobo. He also lets you get, if you don't open Izana, but you open him, that's fine. He essentially becomes a 2-cost drop anyway, but you also get the Fat Chocobo, and he also lets you play everything after. So opening him or Izana and 1 backup is your ideal play. And then after that, if your opponent, he has that same magnetism that Mog has, or that Zidane has, or Van, any of those powerful like first turn drops that if you don't have an answer for, you're gonna run away with the match. And he is a little weaker on that spectrum, but he does provide a lot of value as the game progresses, which is definitely why we play him at 3. And if your opponent lets him live for 1 turn, next turn you'll be able to use his effect to drop any Chocobo. And again, if you have the one the one we just spoke about, the new Opus 6 one, he will drop multiple cards. And so you always want to keep him available to you there. Sometimes you'll even do it on your opponent's turn if you're ready to go. Like if you have some of the ones like that don't have haste, you'll wait till your opponent's turn, and then if they try to do something, then you'll activate, drop them, and then on your turn they'll be ready. They'll be active and ready to attack. You don't want to reveal too much too early sometimes because your opponent has like Exodus or we'll talk into some of those other problems in a bit because I've tested this. So I guess I didn't mention that, but the reason I want to share this deck with you is because it did super well. I almost feel like I should have played this in Constructed. It does very well against Ice just because it's just as aggressive as the mono discard. The turbo discard, but it also has a little more value if you're able to keep the Chocobo Knight open with the Chocobo Knight, or open with Izana, or even if they hit into the Sid Hays, anything like that, or even if they hit into the Chocomog, anything really, and it kind of lets you keep up with them after they discard all your stuff. So in that sense, it's very strong. I took this into Wolf's Den as well, and the first time I lost the first one on a Paradise, which was my fault. I miscalculated damage, and I could have done it better. I could have won, I realized it, but I didn't. Then I went 5 straight, I lost again, and then I went 13 straight. So this deck, and I'm talking about, it playtests against Lightning, Scions, Ice, Warrior of Light decks. There was a bunch of things there, and it did very well. I was super happy with it. I'm planning on making changes to it later, but I'm kind of focusing on Nats right now, so I'm not too concerned about this. Not to say that I might not consider this for Nats, but that's another discussion for another time. So Chocobo Knight is by far the most important card in this deck. Helps you get everything out, and it's just amazing. He is weak. Arc, even with the Arc, he's still susceptible to the Dataluma stuff or anything that shoots for 4K. But it does the Arc does stop him from being under the Cyclops breaking or anything like that. So that's important. And obviously the Elnarsh. Again, I mentioned it. You can definitely play him and keep your opponent in that state of worry, because he never knows when it's going to happen, and they're going to hesitate attacking, because if they leave too many forwards dull without any ways to respond or activate them, or even without any answers, they're not going to want to overextend, which is very good for you too, because it lets you ramp up the bodies that you need to go forward. But if you definitely have an opportunity, you hold him to your hand in as long as you can, and then you'll drop him on main phase 2 and Paradise. Your opponent will never see it coming. It's very strong, and it does the trick. Next, we're going to go into the backups. And obviously, I'm starting with Triple Arc. They're all standard units, and they kind of need that buff sometimes. It helps a lot. It's a lot of simple, quick maths. But Arc is very important. He'll help. He'll turn what is 13k into 15k when they party up, and so on and so forth. And again, it also helps that little extra damage. So it turns, let's say, the haste one. It protects him from Dataluma, and it protects him from the Sarah, the Sid Rains, not Sarah, the Terra, the Sid Rains, and all those little ice things that help you, like that deal for 4K, those exclusive 4K things. And Arc is very important for that reason. I'm playing Double Archer, which is for whatever reason, you want to destroy backups. I like getting rid of the Cosmos and the Chaos that I've seen a lot lately. There was a lot of things that, and so it's useful for that. And I'm playing 2 Mune. Now, Mune's another card to kind of help you get into that. It kind of wants to speed up the deck, but it also gives you another opportunity to draw into the big combo. So the main targets for Mune are Izana and Chocobo Knight, or even the Opus 6 Chocobo that helps you drop another forward. So let's say you have Chocobo Knight and one of the Opus 6 ones, you can tap 2 or pitch 1 for Mune, get it back, draw a card, hopefully it's another Chocobo, have Chocobo Knight drop the Opus 6 one to another one to anything else, and so on and so forth. And so it still gives you, what Mune does is it helps you save on CP when you have it. I only have 2 in there because sometimes if you're not winning, it's not the best thing to draw, but it helps you push there too. So it's very good. Check it out. And then I'm playing Triple Mog. Now, Triple Moogle, sorry. Triple Moogle is very important. Honestly, it's for the Elnarsh play. It kind of just sits there until your opponent is like, I don't know what he has that for. What is he going to search? Of course, you can obviously search one of the summons like a Diablos or a Chaos Walker if you really felt so inclined, or any of the other Chocobos, just so Chocobo Knight has something to drop. Obviously, if you're so inclined, or if you're for whatever reason you haven't gotten Izana or Chocobo Knight out, Moogle will get you there. But ideally, it's you end up drawing one Elnarsh, and then Moogle will get you the other Elnarsh. And that's what's gonna be like. That's what's gonna throw your opponent off right away. It's he'll see you attack, you'll summon Elnarsh, search the other Elnarsh, Paradise, boom. I am playing 2 Oracle. I was considering playing Layak, but Layak, your opponent sees it coming. It's forced. Like, they can force it out of you, right? But Oracle, it's there. You control it. It's a little more different, and I like that reservation that they'll have when I like that control as opposed to my opponent having that control in this set. I'm not saying Layak's a bad card, and I'm sure you could test with it or without it, but for me, it's an Oracle's the better choice. And the one I really want to talk about is Aerith 2. Now, if you control a Category 7 forward, and we do, if you haven't noticed, we do have the Chocobo, the one that Cloud's riding on, is a 7 forward. The cost of playing Aerith is reduced by 1, making her a 2-drop, and then forwards you control cannot be chosen by your opponent's backups. Now, I did play against some Fire Funny stuff, and you know how all their backups do, some Lightning backups, and what else? I think those are the main ones, but it helps out a lot. Fusoyas and things like that, and you don't want your tiny guys to get popped off one by one or like affected by any of those things that reduce backups. Like the lightning ones are the most important ones, but that's kind of what helps you against that. And again, because you have that, you usually end up dropping the 7 forward Chocobo. This one is always going to be 2 costs for you. You'll never have to worry about it being 3. Next is Sid Hays. When Sid Hays enters the field, you may search for any drop standard unit. It's everything in the deck except Izana and Eldnarsh. So obviously you prioritize Chocobo Knight with this one, but if you need the other Chocobos, you'll get whichever one you need. And 2 Fat Chocobo. The only reason I'm only playing 2 is because, again, we have Izana and Chocobo Knight to search for it, and I'm also playing the 1 Chocomog to get to it. It's going to happen. I'm not worried about it. I just wanted to have this. I think I took out the 3rd one to make a space for another Sid Hays or another Oracle. I don't remember, but that's what that's there for. Next is definitely the summons. The summons are pretty straightforward. I'm only playing 1 Chocomog, again, because it doesn't search much. I'm not playing the No-No, so this only searches, so it's funny, you have the Mog, but you can tap something else to get another Moogle 11, and then have Moogle 11 search Eldnarsh. It's a very simple play. Sometimes what Chocomog will do for me is turn 1 CP into 2 CP, and I know it sounds silly, but if I already have the Eldnarsh, I already have what I need, I can tap 1 to get the other Fat Chocobo that's in the deck, thins out the deck, I don't have to draw it, and it also turns the 1 CP into 2 CP. So it's a little CP increase, the way I like to see it, and it also helps me get to the Moogle and Fat Chocobo, like I mentioned. I'm playing 2 Chaos Walkers, and those are just for emergency outs and the EX Burst, because sometimes your opponent does. You do want to let them hit you, and if you can take something out when they do, then you're in a better spot to Paradise later. And I'm playing triple Diablos mainly because we usually end up having 3-4 backups and like 5 bodies. That's 8 to 9 damage, something like that. And you usually can take out a forward with this. It doesn't cost much, and yeah, it's pretty good. It's cheap. It's another EX Burst. I wanted to compensate for not having so much removal that I put these in there, because the only other removal is the Chaos Walkers, and then I'm kind of swinging over stuff. But yeah, those are the main cards. Again, I'll just go over real quick just to show you what the combos look like, guys. Alright guys, and like I said, I'm just going to go over this really quick. It's not too much. We kind of mentioned, talking about everything, while I was going over the cards. But real quickly, again, the priority is you want to get Chocobo Knight as fast as you can to help you drop stuff. But if you also have Izana's, these are your first turn plays, these are your first turn opens. You want to look for anything, 2 and any 2 backups, except Miyun, obviously. And then when you end up searching for these, you end up searching for Fat Chocobo. Fat Chocobo is going to be the one that helps you kind of pop off. So you're going to drop the Fat Chocobo, and then hopefully you'll have 1 or 2 or any of these in your hand, and then you'll have Fat Chocobo play it. And when Fat Chocobo plays it, it'll trigger, and then you'll drop anything else from your hand. You can have this one if that's all you had. Honestly, like at the beginning, it's fine if you drop any one of these, as long as you have bodies on board, because they're going to end up party attacking anyway, or swinging for they're just going to be taking points of damage, and that's kind of the beginning. I did mention the Miyun. You have the Miyun to get back either one of these. And then drop them again. Those are the cards that are going to help you search for more Chocobos. That way you always have ammunition and always have bodies on board. And then this one is the one that we need. Sorry, let me pick that up. That's the one that we need so we can drop the Aerith, make Aerith into a true 2-drop. Again, I am only playing 3 of these and 2 of the Aerith, but it's that simple. And this will help keep these weak forwards from being destroyed or targeted from any of your opponent's backups. So that's pretty much the simple thing. And then again, like I said, once you have, let's say even here, we're at all this, right? And your opponent only has like 2 bodies on board. And I know you think like, there's no way I'm going to get that many forwards on the board, but honestly you will with this deck. You kind of just wait a turn, and then when your opponent least expect it, main phase 2, you'll drop the Eldnarsh. Not even, you could drop the Eldnarsh, main phase 1, trigger it, give it haste, then he'll swing, take an extra point of damage. You're either going to clear your opponent's board as you're partying up. So let's say right here you party up. With arc, they're 7 and 4 makes 11. 11 plus 6 is 17, and that's 17 party attack right there. Yeah, they're gonna block it, but they're only gonna be able to kill him usually because he'll end up being at 9. But even if they kill him, it doesn't matter. They're just you're clearing the board out of the way, and then that's it. So you've gone and taken all the points of damage. You'll have Mog there to search for the other one, and then Paradise. Yeah, and that's pretty simple, guys. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Please give it a test. Let me know what you think. I know my YouTube has been lacking a little wind stuff, but don't worry, we do have a lot of wind coming up. Again, I'll be sharing more decks from. This is mine. This is my extra deck, but I have at least 3 more decks to feature here from other real strong players. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Test it out. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you later.